Look yourself in the mirror. What do you see? Do you see someone you could trust? Someone you can rely on? Be honest with yourself. What do you see? Most people don't like the person looking back at them. Why? Your confidence is solely on belief in yourself. So why don't you believe? Is it because you're afraid? Afraid of what? If you knew yourself, fear wouldn't be an option. Problem is, you don't. You only know the version of you that the world kept labeling. Too quiet, not attractive enough, not smart enough. But those are only opinions, not your identity. So let me ask you something. When you stand in front of that mirror and there's no noise, no opinions, what do you actually see? Do you see limits? Or do you see someone who hasn't even fully been tested yet? Because the truth is, most people don't lack confidence. They've just been repeating someone else's story about themselves for too long. And the moment you decide to stop repeating that story, that's the moment everything starts to change. So I ask again, look yourself in the mirror.
You know, I used to always struggle with confidence. I've always been a skinny kid growing up. I always used to just follow trends and see what my other peers were doing and trying to get, people to like me, because I really didn't build a personality when I was, younger. As I got more mature and more conscious of my mind, I started to build up these habits and I started to build up self-confidence through getting put in uncomfortable situations. Physical activity is crucial in building confidence, but it branches out way more than that. You just got to get put in uncomfortable situations. Comfort is not going to breed growth. Uncomfort does. For me, the big shift that I found was changing up my habits, changing up my routine, my beliefs, because I had limited beliefs. I would always tell myself I'm not good enough. I really just looked myself in the mirror and I didn't like what I saw staring back at me, and I had to talk with myself like something needs to change because I don't enjoy the life that I'm living. And so I started to accumulate these routines, habits, and beliefs that I just constantly just told myself. I even had to lie to myself sometimes and trick myself saying that you're that guy, like you're him. And a lot of people go through this life not liking who's staring back at them in the mirror because they don't want to go get put in these uncomfortable situations. And I feel like it's very, very, very important to get put in those uncomfortable situations because, like I said, it breeds growth and you learn a lot about yourself. And whether that be starting a fitness journey, breakthroughs always have discomfort phases. If you're starting a fitness journey, you're gonna feel weak before you feel strong. If you're starting a self-growth journey, you're gonna feel discomfort before you actually grow. If you're trying to build confidence, you're gonna feel uncomfortable talking to people until you actually gain more confidence. So there's always going to be discomfort, but you just have to switch your perspective and looking at those discomforts as growth, learning lessons, trials and tribulations that you'll learn from. I was real hard-headed back then and I didn't want to do the work. I'm gonna be honest, honestly, it took a breakup. It took a breakup where I was like, okay, I'm very stagnant and complacent in life right now, and I know I'm meant for more. So what's it gonna be like? What do I gotta do? And so I just started. You gotta have the willingness, though. I had the willingness. I turned that pain into fuel. I just pursued it. But if you don't have that pain, you can't wait on pain to turn into fuel, because now you're just waiting on something to just magically hit you so you can start. You have to gain that resource like right now as you stand, just because you're just gonna be waiting forever. My confidence didn't come from compliments from other people. It came from promises that I made to myself and actually went out and did those promises. I've always known that my confidence was rising and getting better from what it used to, but it really put it into perspective when I started working with people and I started coaching others, and I'm giving them the resources and the habits that I did in my journey, and seeing it work and seeing them, start from zero and build up that confidence. That really, really helped me out gain clarity from, this stuff actually works. I want to tell y'all that if you don't like the person staring back at you in the mirror, you have to have a talk with yourself, and you have to understand that something has to change. And what you're doing is not getting you to that point where you want to get to, where you're putting your time and energy into. I want to talk about confidence in this video and how it helped me become the person I am, and how it helps other people that I work with, and really take in the message from this video, because I really feel like it'll help you out a lot. You know, confidence makes you sure of yourself, and you know when it's time to do something, you can actually do it. I feel like a lot of people need to get put in those uncomfortable situations for their confidence to display. You know what I mean? Having your back against the wall, putting yourself in situations where you know you fear it, and you know as a man you gotta show that confidence, that authority, you know those skills to get through a rough time or uncomfortable situation because you know there's people that rely on you. You know what I mean? And how do you respond to that? How do you respond to the chaos? How do you respond to the storm? The best skill a man could, you know, acquire is responding to stress or a dark time or an uncomfortable situation because that builds character. You know, you get your confidence from the belief in yourself, and you don't believe in yourself if you haven't proven anything. That goes back to you know following through with those promises that you make with yourself. You know, a lot of people with lack of commitment or you know lack of just getting up anyway. You know, because every day's a test. When that alarm strikes in the morning, that's the first test of the day. You know what I'm saying? Everybody fails at that test. Snooze or get up. Once that confidence is discovered, everything external is the cherry on top. You know, once you validate yourself with proving that what you promise yourself you can actually go and execute, you're moving one step closer to that goal. You know, a lot of us, you know, have journals, they write down journals or put down a planner, blueprints, or we write down our goals. Once we start getting closer to that line and start accomplishing these things, it's a fine line where it's like getting to that breakthrough, you know, and it encourages you. That means the work is really starting to pay off. So as long as you have that vision and that belief in yourself, that'll take you a long, long, long way.
Some nights you don't want to move. You're just tired. And tired will always say, do it tomorrow. But commitment says, do it anyway. You sit up, you get up, you go. The workout isn't the win. The decision is. That's where confidence is built.
You know, confidence doesn't come from other people's validations or compliments. The confidence that you truly want to find is within yourself. It comes from you. You know what I'm saying? Like people gassing you up. Sometimes people will give me compliments and people will tell me I'm doing good and stuff, you know. And I appreciate the compliment, but it's something I already knew. You know what I mean? People are relying on other people's validation and compliments, and I could resonate with that because that was me a while back when I was younger. You know, I would always try to get people's validation, but you start to realize that that drains your energy. You know, you're emotionally invested into what other people think, and once you got that belief in yourself and you're grounded where you at, and you got that confidence in yourself, you don't care what other people think. You know what I mean? That validation's already within yourself. As long as you put in the work in, as long as you execute it, you don't need that outside noise. That uncontrollable ego will put you over the top. You know, that's why it's so important to have confidence, but with grace. You know, you don't want your ego to overshadow your confidence, because then that's whenever you start making rational decisions, you start leading towards stuff that is not good for you. Ego can hurt a lot of people. Ego can make you broke. So can envy. You won't feel these things if you're secure with yourself. And I feel like a lot of people, you know, feel these things because they're not secure with themselves. They lack that confidence. They lack that commitment. You know, that drive.
In the midst of your day, no noise, no distractions, just you and your thoughts. That's usually when doubt gets loud. But confidence isn't something you wear. It's something you build in those quiet spaces. It's choosing action when no one's pushing you. It's deciding you belong before anyone confirms it. Confidence isn't certainty. It's preparation meeting execution. It's having a plan and honoring it when it would be easier not to. It's the breath you take before you speak. The calm when pressure rises. The repetition of doing what you say you would. And over time, those small follow-through moments stack. That's when confidence stops feeling forced and starts feeling earned.
If you ain't putting in that work, then like, what are you confident in? You know, there's nothing to be confident about. If you ain't practicing, how could you be confident? If you're not putting rep after rep after rep and executing, how could you be confident? You know, at the end of the day, you just gotta get up and do it every single day, every single day.